Just want to say, Pauli the PSM, you were the first to play in Sphere, because you came on before us, and you've been just getting the party started. You're an amazing dude to be around on a run with, so musical, but so cool as a person. And please ask us anything you want.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I don't take it lightly. Your fans are incredible. It's just magical being out there, and that space is just out of this world. I'm gonna start with the most ridiculous question, if that's okay. Is that all right? Adam's moustache has obviously been the main talking point of the tour. Obviously. It's beautiful. If I could grow something like that on my lip, I'd totally have one.
Thank you very much, Pauli. I know we all feel like it's been around for a long time, but it's since Christmas. It's only been with me for a month.
And is it here to stay?
I don't know. It's quite comfortable where it is. You know, it keeps my upper lip warm. You know, we're coming out of winter. I don't know, maybe.
I love that. And I feel like we've all had a journey of facial hair.
True.
Yourself, Mr. Ed,
I did. I was the first, and it's nice to see the others following my example.
Yeah.
I have to say, Adam, you pull it off without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
Pop Mart opened in Las Vegas, and the idea behind that tour was to use all these gigantic, sort of outsize pop art like sculptures. We had a giant lemon, we had Klaus Oldenburg like sculptures, we had Roy Lichtenstein animations.
The cocktail stick.
The cocktail stick, and we thought Las Vegas would be the absolute best place to open this. But in fact, when we got here, our tour looked a little humdrum, is the truth. And people are looking and going, oh yeah, that's a Mirrorball spaceship, yeah, big deal. And so
blended in.
It blended in too much. But we opened that show in Las Vegas. We've had some really critical moments of our life in Las Vegas. And we did the recording with Barry Devlin of the video for Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For in Las Vegas. There was his, what do you call the sound equipment that you have to listen to?
Monitors? Boombox?
Believe it or not, it's the time before boomboxes. And I believe he carried around the this particular boombox in a shopping trolley. Is that right?
That's absolutely true. Yes.
So yeah, lots of connections with this city, but now I think we feel glued to the people as much as the place. People who work here, and people work really hard here, and trying to look after people like us and who don't work as hard. And I think we feel connected to the people who work here, not just the acrobats and not just the sword swallowers, but just people driving cars and bartenders, and there's a whole other side of Las Vegas that you don't see from the outside, from across the world. And just really hard-working people and very cool people. And yeah, we've been humbled by how hard they work.
Since you've been here, have you been able to venture beyond the Sphere? Have you been able to go out into Vegas at all, into any of the local areas?
It's well known that rock and roll bands judge entire civilizations by the quality of room service. But you've been out. Edge has been out more than anyone.
Yeah, I had an amazing night out with some of our peeps when we went to this karaoke bar quite spontaneously after a show one night, and it was a place, but it was on a Sunday night, so it wasn't like nearly full. It was like 25 people, a place called the Champagne Bar, and I reckoned after about the second or third song that what we were dealing here were with a bunch of regulars, and there was this little sense of community there, and a sort of, it was a safe place for singers, no matter how good or bad. We all got up and had a great laugh, but it was very moving in a weird way, because the songs took on this other meaning in this context. The lyrics had a different twist, and it really was an insight into that other side of the city, and I found it very moving.
What did you sing? What did you do?
Well, I did Rainy Night in Soho, and then had to do one of my favourite Clash songs, Should I Stay or Should I Go?
And I feel like there's another part of the story that you may be missing. Did you get any compliments from anyone on that night in particular?
I did, actually. I got, the DJ did say, you know, man, where have you been hiding? You know, you should think about doing this professionally. Which was fun.
How many did you do?
Look, I stopped after 17 songs. I just thought that was hogging the mic.
How many people were there?
25 people. Yeah.
17.
No, I did about. I did 3 or 4.
That's true. More than our first gig, says Adam.
Go on. What's everyone else's karaoke song of choice?
Oh, I don't do that. No, I don't embarrass myself in public unless I'm on a U2 stage.
You know what it reminded me? Sorry to
bit.
interrupt, Adam. It reminded me that the audience is the key thing. That's what I've felt about our shows here. Is we've got all this technology, and it's wonderful. It's mind blowing. But I think you'd agree that it's the fact that it's in front of a live audience, that we're all in this together, that is the thing that really makes it powerful. So the technology is an aid, but actually, that's not the centerpiece of it all.
Bram, karaoke isn't big in Holland, is it?
Kind of a karaoke meeting.
No.
So you can make it as big as you want.
But it's not really.
I love to do karaoke, but I haven't been to this champagne bar yet.
So Bram,
So we have to go.
Yes.
one day before the first show of the
Yeah.
40, myself, yourself, and Adam spoke to U2X Radio. Now 40 shows are in the bag. What do you feel? What was the real highlight? Opening night, middle night, when?
There's so many highlights. I don't know.
I wanted to talk to you about your highlights. Very good.
Thank you. I'll give you the number of them. It really. It will take some time to process it all, because right now it's still like one big cloud of like impressions, highlights.
What's your favorite gig? Or when do you just feel that's the one I'll bring home with me forever?
Yeah,
Like-
and then I forget what it was 28 or.
Right.
Well, I remember when your wife came for the first
Yeah.
time. And then I remember your mum came.
Yeah.
And then your bandmates came.
Yeah, there were several of those
Big moments.
big moments, but I think, of course, opening night, it was for everyone. It was a really, right? A big deal.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
it just me? No, but and that really stuck in my mind. That gig, it was to get that airplane
Off the ground.
Yeah.
off the ground and on the tarmac. Is it
Tarmac,
tarmac?
yeah.
After that show, that was a really good feeling. Yeah.
Well, I felt it was really great that our audience accepted Bram, into the fold. They knew he was stepping in for Larry, who couldn't perform, and they embraced him. And within a very short period of time, it was like they accepted that Bram was there. He was doing a great job. They turned up with their signs for Bram. And it was like, wow!
I found that hurtful. Just want to say,
it's like this is a generous U2 audience,
Yeah.
and that's very proud of our audience and proud of Bram.
that's right. But there was a real embrace, as Adam says. But I think the Wham Bam Thank You Bram T-shirts are just going too far. Edge spoke to me about it afterwards. He says, we've got to knock this guy out.
He liked it, so we're on a team now.
Adam is.
Yeah, but that's a very important thing that really lifted me up you know, that the fans were like, you know, showing their appreciation, and then you start to work even harder, you know, like, okay, let's make this work.
Is it at all what you expected it to be? Did you have any expectations for what this would be like?
I think the hardest part of starting playing with these guys is what I didn't know what to expect. So the first rehearsal, getting in, like, will there be like one of them like really very bitchy about all the drum parts, or will one be very grumpy? I didn't know. You know?
We were all of those things.
But it was, you know, really into the unknown, and but it's yeah. I said it before, but it's so. They really took care of me, you know. So, and that's really nice, and I felt really comfortable very quickly. So
Amazing.
Like, this is the Sphere. No venue like it in the world, no visual like it, no sound like it. And I remember coming here like May last year, like, and we were going, okay, the gear's going in, it's going to be live in 3 months' time. When did you think you realized that this was going to work? When did you know? Was it before the first night, or?
Personally, after the first show, because there was so much jeopardy associated with just the technology functioning, and assuming that it all functioned as it was supposed to function, there was a whole other unknown about how all of this visual kind of support would connect with the music and connect with the live audience. So really, I didn't know. I don't think any of us really knew until after that first show.
Yeah, I will say that for me, you know, as I joke, you know, singers with messianic complexes love to wander the desert, but the desert doesn't necessarily love them back. You know, it can be tricky for your voice. So I had to stay in a lot, and my room was the humidity, and I had all these humidifiers. It was like the reptile house in the zoo when we were kids in Dublin. And so the missus didn't want to be in the room. It was like, she said, the smell of boiled carpet off you. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. And the rehearsals were tricky because I didn't want to lose my voice, because that had happened the very first time we played Las Vegas on Pop Mart all those years ago. But when we did the first show, as Edge is saying, something went off, and we had a visitation. We had a visitation, and if you're going to drop a name, drop a big name. We had a visitation from a Beatle. That's right, we had a Beatle. We had the Macca. We had Paul McCartney. And I haven't been able to see any of the guests because of my voice. I've been locked up in the reptile house. But he came round, the band came round. We all had one moment with the Beatle. And he gave us the benediction. But what he said was really, of course he's smart, he's Paul McCartney. He was the big bang of pop music. He said, I could hear you better than ever. I could see you. But the bit when it breaks down in the middle, I could feel you. And I think that's what we learned after the first night, was that we could have a more dimensional effect. That's dimensional, not dementia. We also have that. But
that's a given.
That's a given. But yeah, because it really is a load of bollocks if people don't feel it. And spectacle, people talk about spectacle. It has to be, that spectacle has to be interior to, you have to feel it. And the emotions that were going off, and that first night were very special. Yeah, there's been some really great nights. And then there's the humbling thing, I have to say this, the shite nights. And you leave stage and go, well, that was that.
I mean, shite. And you find out that's somebody else's favorite night, and you think, well, what did they know? And then you hear it back, and they're right. And it's still so confusing being on the stage, not knowing where you are, even though you sort of know what you're doing, you think you know the songs, it's always a surprise. 40 nights, every night a surprise. That is mad. And random stage fright is the other thing. You know, you still get it. Do you get it, Adam?
I still get it.
Bram, well, you must have had it.
Never.
I mean, the visuals are completely mind-blowing, but for me, the sound is what blew my mind the most, is the real truth.
Yeah.
Because you go and you see the show a lot, but the sound just kept getting better and better. And I heard songs, like for me, the musical highlights, where it just brought the lyrics and the songs to another level. Was So Cruel and Love Rescue Me. They just went into another zone. It was like the lyric was sitting, looking at me in the face, and you're right up at the top. It was like the lyric was there. And then the sonic magic of your solo at the end of Love is Blindness. I just had never heard that before in my life. And I've seen a lot of you too.
Yes, well, you've seen our first shows. I mean, Mr. Friday, I don't know. I mean, forming of the band was a big moment, and I think Adam was the first person who believed that we would have a future. He was the manager, our first manager, but the first person who believed we might have a future to manage. But one of the people who set my ambition in what's possible in music was you, Mr. Friday, and on Cedarwood Road, to walk, I would come out, you know, look out the window, and Gavin Friday would be walking down the street. There's no headphones, and I'm thinking he's doing the thing that people do with headphones now, right? But it's all going on in his head, and he wouldn't see anyone or hear anyone, and he had songs in his head. And we used to go up on a Monday night, and the band did this occasionally. We'd go into Gavin Friday's good room. You know, the good room in Dublin is the one that you only use on special occasions. And your mother and father have you there. They have the good room there for visitors. But Gavin was led into the good room of his own house, and we'd go in there too. And you'd play Bowie, you'd play Eno. You opened up our mind to so much art. That music wasn't just entertainment, that it was art. I feel I learned that from you. Sorry, what was the question again? I'm sorry, I just went off.
Well, you're just talking about the musicality, how much it's, for me, the sound of the Sphere.
Yeah,
right.
That was the big surprise.
It's really extraordinary, and it's something that keeps changing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's why I'm thinking of you. Because listening to albums in your house on Cedarwood Road was an immersive experience. We put on music, and they didn't need anything else. There was visuals like album cover, but it was the music that was the immersive experience. And and so that this building brings you back to not just album cover artwork, but the reason that you fell in love in the first place, which was fidelity. Dare I use that word?
It's very hard to explain to anyone who hasn't been to the show.
Yeah.
Because we've all grown up going to concerts in buildings that were designed and built for sports. And this is a very large venue. It's like up to 20,000 people. But they built it where the sound is a priority. And not only is the sound of the building pristine and controllable, all the things that you don't associate with big venues, but also the system to deliver the sound is unique. And it gives you so much ability to deliver crystal clarity and surround sound, like an immersive surround sound mix.
It's so sci-fi. I mean, you go to, say, a classic rock gig like in Dublin, the Olympia, a theatre that holds about 2,000. And there's this, I call it the sweat of a gig, even before the band come on, and the lights are there, and you start seeing this sweat in the air. It's just, it's 2,000 people breathing. The Sphere isn't like that. I mean, there's robots telling you where to go upstairs. There's AI air conditioning. So it looks like a television studio. It's a massive venue. And then the sound just comes up and is almost like touching your face. I mean, it's a really science-fi thing.
It was actually in a certain way terrifying as well, because there's a way to hide. You know, if you're in a big outdoor venue with the big echoes and reverbs of a stadium, you're aware of the fact that there's an ambience and a reverb that smooths everything off. This is like, you make a mistake, you can hear it. Like every little subtle intonation is audible to the audience.
You're the edge. You don't make mistakes.
So
it's like doing a really bad interview on the Graham Norton show or something.
right.
Every minute is seen.
I think what we kind of got comfortable with over the series of shows was that actually it's okay. Like the sound of our voices, the sound of the guitars, bass, drums, actually sounds okay. There's no need to be in any kind of masking reverb we could be completely laid bare, and it still works. And I felt that was, when you're doing something as subtle and as intimate as, say, Love Rescue Me, it's a great reassurance to know that actually will hang together.
Intimacy is the new punk rock, is the T-shirt we wanted to print, and this building was going to help us get there. And so, as well as the wildness, the sonic adventure and misadventure that is Achtung Baby, that we get this radical intimacy. I mean, and that's really cool.
In such a revolutionary space, they've now announced that there's going to be people playing in this venue after you. Crazy.
Right.
Insane.
In our venue?
In your venue.
There's going to be other
Is this the first time you're hearing of this?
Yes.
I'm sorry to break this to you, but they've just announced there's going to be other...
This is unacceptable. We built this place.
You did.
With our bare hands, the edge. Look at him. He's a broken man after it. And you say others are going to come in here and walk all over the edge's finest work?
So sorry to break the news to you.
There will be no one in here, and nor should anyone be allowed. And we can do some, what do you call it? We can do some facial recognition. And if anyone comes in here with a moustache as magnificent as Adam Clayton, throw them right out.
Yeah,
just
have it.
And if the...
Can we have Jim Dolan standing at the door and him just saying, your moustache is too magnificent, back the fuck off. I think that would work.
If there was to be other bands playing in this space, which there won't be, obviously.
Of course not. But hypothetically.
Hypothetically, would you have any advice for them?
Wow. We sort of had a very lucky break, because being the first band, we got a chance to explore the sound system and work very closely with the venue people to get our visuals working. I don't think anyone will do exactly what we're doing, what we did, and I think that's probably a good thing. I think every band will find their own way to use the technology, but I think what I would have to say is, in accord with Gav, is that the audio for a rock and roll band, for any band, might be actually the secret weapon, even more so than the visuals. Right. So I would say, give yourselves time to really get your sound figured out and find the thing that you can do in this venue that you couldn't possibly do anywhere else.
Adam, what was the British filmmaker's name who had a film that was just the colour blue?
Derek Jarman.
Derek Jarman.
Yeah, Derek Jarman.
But you need less. I think we've been maximalists as well as minimalists in our use of this place. But I think it would be okay for people just to perform with the color blue for a few songs, or a scene like a German, like just a diner or the desert or something. I don't think it would the visuals would have to be as operatic as we've made them, and just they'd be a lot less expensive. Just saying, whoever comes through.
Was that?
I mean, the Edge can't sleep at night.
Is that because of the visuals or because of?
No, there was wallet. His wallet. He keeps saying, "Where's the moolah gone?" It's.
But isn't the middle part, the semi-acoustic part, that break? It's just that palate cleanser that happens. Act 2.
Yeah.
Really, and weirdly enough, I thought the Innocence tour was your most intimate, but no, this is more intimate than the Innocence tour, for me.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I do agree. And it's because there's no separation between the singer and the audience. It's like you could be at the top of the building. Every single little nuance of the voice is audible. So there's a direct.
And we've been singing together, which has been a real highlight for me. I always try to get Edge to sing more on our albums. I just love the sound of his voice. And if it goes back, even Sunday Bloody Sunday, you hear it. You know, his voice is so strong. And Seconds, we played Seconds for the first time. And it's probably the only thing Noel and Liam Gallagher can agree on. And apparently, and that tune, and that's touching. Great singers and great writers. But I will tell you this, as a singer, when there's nowhere to hide out there, and over the years, if you've been doing this for a while, people take an attitude towards you, positive or negative. If you've been doing this for a while, it's very easy. You just like, that annoys me. You know, that person annoys me, or they get on my, or get on my nerves, whatever. People will take a guinea, as they say at home. They take a guinea. But when you're singing, in earbuds now, you're in people's ears on subways, in their cars, and they know who you are. So you don't have to, I'm learning, telling myself live, you don't have to explain yourself. The voice explains you, just the tone, it's not even the words. And the thing I have to do is to try and just trust that. And because I never thought of myself as a singer, I thought I was more of a shouter than a singer. But you can't, shouting we wear off here after, I do a bit of shouting, and that's just backstage. But you're right out there as a singer in Sphere, and being right out there with your mate of how many years and singing so beautifully and is incredible. That's a great feeling. I've changed my microphone. I started to change my microphone singing "You're So Cruel" so I could look at Edge when he was doing his harmonies. It so blew my mind. And then it was too much for me. I had to turn them back so I could concentrate on the song, not as fucking whatever that is that you got in your face.
So with Act 2, what is your favourite part of the show? Say, Adam, like, where do you enjoy the most? Or
I love the section from the opening all the way up to Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World, because it has a momentum of its own, and it just carries you through. And then, I don't know, it's 40 minutes in or something, and then you get the break, and you get that intimacy of the breakdown.
What do you do in your break? Because you do leave the stage.
We do leave the stage. We have a little boys' talk backstage.
Do you compare facial hair?
And we kind of talk about how it's going, you know,
That's right.
what we need to do when we come back on, you know.
Okay. Cool.
Pass the ball a bit more, that kind of stuff.
That's very good. Do you like that?
That's amazing. I want to say that Even Better Than the Real Thing is a song we played for many years, but I don't think it's ever sounded as incredibly rhythmic and groovy as it sounded on this series of shows. And Adam has gone to a bass part that he hasn't played since the album. And this incredible, for me as a guitar player, it's just listening to these two guys playing together. It's an amazing groove you guys are creating.
What sticks do you use?
Yeah.
No, sorry. No, they were getting into music there.
Oh, sticks
Yeah.
used. Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Real Thing is great fun to play now, because it really feels, I mean, it really feels like it's a hybrid. It's, you know, whatever I was doing before never quite felt original, whereas what's going on now is really original.
Is this closer to the album version?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's great.
I don't know who that cat is they had on the album. This is really good.
That cat's back. I'm looking at him.
But you've managed to keep every show feeling fresh, and you've mentioned even subtle changes like moving the microphone or like changes in the set list. But how have you managed to keep it really fresh for your audience as well? How have you consciously and intentionally done that?
I was advising our audience against coming more than once, because the tickets are expensive. And though we've made some cheaper tickets available for students around here in Nevada and whatever else, people around the town, it's just a lot. And I've been speaking to them outside of Zoo Station, outside of this very place where we're doing this interview. And for whatever reason, where they were positioned or the night that we're in it, they feel that it's very different. And I was thinking, that can't be true, can it? But then I realized it was true for me. And I suppose it's more theater than rock and roll. I mean, a rock and roll band, we don't do the jukebox thing. You know, where you put in, you don't, and it's so exciting, I imagine, for people to come along and have a different set, like Fish, when they come in here. They won't play the same set twice. That'd be amazing. Or John and the Dead. They do that. But we are more theatrical, and we've always been that. Even when we were playing theaters, we were looking for this kind of 3-act structure, and which is mad. But because why would we know about theater? But we always thought like that. Where did we get that from, Gavin? You are our artistic director, one of the creative directors of this show. You've been working with us for all these years. Where did we get the 3-act structure from? Was that the Greeks?
I think it was possibly David Bowie.
Probably. Yeah.
You know, seeing Bowie in 1976, and there was 3 acts.
Oh, of course.
That's for me.
Yeah.
Also, our live shows are almost like movies. Like each song is like a scene, and it often the song will throw a question to the listener, to us as we're performing it, and then the song that follows kind of takes that question and answers it or poses another one. So and as we're putting this set together, it's almost like you start to understand that there is a through line, a flow from one song to the next, and it as Adam says, you get a momentum, you get a build up of feeling and emotion.
But it's always, when you go to a gig, the beginning, the middle, and the end.
We sort of instinctively know when it's working, but there's still a huge amount of mystery there. Even with all of the sort of set pieces that this show entails, it's why certain things collide and create the feeling is still mystery.
But that's the sort of the magic of the team, and Willie and Joe and all these people, this gang that's been working for 40 years or more.
Yeah.
It's like we've never done this before, but we know exactly what we're doing.
Well, Joe O'Hurley, he did an amazing thing by getting in
Steve Lillywhite, Jackknife Lee, getting in, you know, because we were beta testing not just the new technology of the building, but the sonic, the sound system,
and the arrangements,
and so the arrangements. So it was just really important to have very musical, smart people around. That was really helpful, really helpful. One thing I did notice. I'm just saying this as I'm thinking it. No kidding. But I can go on a rant, as is well known, and some people don't appreciate that. But that's where music comes from for us, from going to see The Clash and whatever it was years ago, Public Enemy, whatever, you know, people go on a rant and we'd like, go for it. I'm not going on rants on this one, because the politics outside, in the outside world, as horrific as it is presently, doesn't seem to have much room in the show. Because Achtung Baby is such an intense album that it uses up that. It's a strange thing. It's almost like it's gone. So you know, it's like I'm like Acrobat goes off like Bullet the Blue Sky. And it's this, you know, fight somebody's having with himself about being a hypocrite. And, you know, these are very interior dialogues, often, some of the monologues. And so you can't, there's not much preaching. There's not much, you know, there are no polemics. Because there's just no room for them, because you've used up all the air on that.
But what I find, I'm totally with you, but politically, the visuals and the spell, that sort of poetic homage to the fragility of Earth is the message you walk out of here with.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's so political without even being political. It's those birds and, you know, look, they could die, or they will die, or it's that. It's quite extraordinary.
But you have to be pulverized for an hour and a half before you get there. It's like getting into the ring with Mike Tyson, who lives around the corner, by the way, and apparently plays Phil Collins' drum parts. But you know, it's like being in the ring with Mike Tyson. You get knocked around the place, and then you get up off the canvas, and you're ready to see the world. It's a strange thing, and I feel it too sometimes. From where the Streets of Name starts, and Ez Devlin's Nevada Ark, John Gerard's Flag of Surrender. And that's right, I don't need to do a rant, because the poetry is in the visuals. Thank you, Gavin, you just helped me.
That's true.
Can we go back and do another 40 shows now? I know what we're doing.
Would you do another 40 shows? I mean, they're going to probably build one of these in Dubai, I reckon.
We judge entire civilizations by the quality of room service.
Who knows?
Well,
But I think it's also, we've learned to make a point that might be an attempt to approach something that's negative. It's like trying to hit it head on is just preaching. It's kind of not very interesting. So it's really, rather than fighting the darkness, it's making the light brighter. And I think what our collaborators have done so beautifully, as Devlin and John Gerard, is
Marco Brambilla.
and Marco, is just sort of put the spotlight on what we have that's so unique, so beautiful, and so fragile. You don't have to talk carbon emissions or climate change or whatever. You just showcase what's unique about our ecosystem, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, and you mentioned it feeling like a church and being the church. It feels spiritual in there. People leave feeling like they've been in the spirit, you know, inspired. Is that intentional? Was that something that you...
Well, it starts in a cave, Plato's cave we call it, but you know. The singer walks on, not wearing anything, as it were. Well, for me, I hide behind my glasses. I don't have glasses on. And you sing a shanos, which is an contradiction in terms because Senos is unaccompanied singing in Ireland. It's an ancient melody. I don't know where it comes from, and but it's Irish. But I honestly don't know where. We never recorded that melody, and then you get into this Elvis mega church. Well, first of all, you're in a club in Berlin in the 90s. Then it's like an Elvis mega church, and then it does go to a kind of a cathedral of the natural world and the supernatural. There is that, and sometimes, you feel. Well, sometimes you ask yourself the question: is this real or manufactured light? And the answer is both. And, all musicians know the feeling of what it is. You're all waiting for, Quincy Jones, when he said it, we're waiting for God to walk through the room. But God takes his time. That's Quincy Jones' quote. But, so you don't know. But I love the digital light here is serving as a kind of high for people. And there's a lot of people out there being bruised in their faith, being bullied by their faith, by religion. And so even though some of us here have very deep faiths, I don't think we're very religious, but God will always choose the most unexpected moment to meet you and the most unexpected place. And people say, I'm going to Vegas to get away from God and Bono. So, and we're both here in one person.
But it's also the power of community.
Yes.
I think that's what's great about music being performed to large groups of people. You don't get that in your headset. And for us, I suppose we've learned over the years that when our tribe comes together, you start it off, but those songs belong to the audience, and the audience take you. You need them more than they need you. And it's an amazing thing, and I think that's what you're feeling.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Beautifully
It's
put.
also why you want to be in a band.
True.
Really.
It's hard to, we want to be your best self, right? We all want to be our best self. It's hard to be your best self. If you want to be the best version you can be in a band, it's hard to do that on your own. Just saying. Do you know what I mean? So being in a band forces you to confront each other. Yeah. You have to meet each other at some point. You can hide, we all go through times, you disappear from each other. But in the end, it's a confrontation and as you get older, men in particular, their egos get a bit brittle. I mean, other people's. And
What's an ego? Read about this.
I don't know. I think it might interfere with one's ability to think straight.
I think that might be right.
But that's what being in a band is. You depend on each other, and then you realize you're depending, as Adam was saying, on the audience.
Yeah.
They keep you together. Is that right?
Yeah, the magic happens with them. When they're there, the magic happens.
Bram, can I ask a question? I know it's not a U2 gig, but are the gigs that you went to that changed you?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
They had acts.
What?
No, one that really changed me was the Kate Bush shows in London, 2014. And funny, I remember waking up in the morning after and thinking, like, this is, how can anyone, like, come up with something better than this? And imagine being part of something like that. And here I am.
Wow.
Well, none of us can touch the hem of Kate
Bush's
Bush,
Maze.
but yeah, and some of the most extraordinary and innovative music ever
Yeah.
made. But she also went to theatrical
Yeah.
dimension. So even though, because your band is full on hardcore, you know, rock and roll bands. But it's interesting that you were open to that more theatrical thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was such a different experience. And the Sphere, the Two-Head Sphere, is also a very different experience. So that it's so special to be part of something new in that sense. You know, like boundaries, pushing boundaries. Yeah.
I remember seeing, when we went to see Bruce Springsteen years ago, and I remember thinking, wow, this is like opera, but not like what my dad used to listen to. But it is opera, but it's also like John Steinbeck, like those books I read. It's also like Badlands, you know, not his song, the film. You know, I was American movies. It was all going off, and he was just standing there with his band and the guitar. So it's interesting that music can set you off the way it can.
Yeah.
What about you, Adam? You was over
On
show.
On the show.
No, someone else's show.
Oh, someone else's show. My first gig ever was Rory Gallagher, who was Ireland's answer to, I guess, Eric Clapton and the blues. And it was just that sense of freedom that I got from music, of going to a concert and realizing that there were other people like me, because I didn't really know that. I was from the suburbs. I'd been in boarding school. I'd never been on a team. You know, I didn't like sports or rugby or anything. But going to see Rory play was great. And
What about Thin Lizzy?
I went and
Another
saw-
moustache.
I went and saw Thin Lizzy, and of course that he is the great proponent of the moustache, which I didn't realize at the time. So that's the other thing I've got from him.
And bass.
Yeah, I mean, I realize every time I listen to Thin Lizzy now and Phil, I realize that in a way, what he did is ingrained in all of us that came through music that way. There's a little bit of Phil in all of us, aren't we lucky?
One of the great bass parts.
Karaoke, go back to karaoke, Edge.
Well, I bet you.
As we draw to the end of this interview and we prepare to listen to the whole show in its entirety,
I need to go for a piss.
but before
Sorry,
you
I'll
do
take
that,
that back. I need to go. No, it's just because when I hear the band come on stage, I always want to go to the bathroom. Sorry. That's all I meant. That was a joke. Sorry.
the one question that everyone's been asking and everyone wants to know is, did you ever find your keys?
Under the mat? Of course. They were under the mat.
Where they
All that
were all the
time.
time.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I thought the Edge had them. I thought Mr. Friday had them. Googie had them. There's all kinds of people. Andrea Core, I thought she'd run off with them. No, under the mat.
Under the mat. Well, from
Wow.
under the mat, thank you, The Edge, Bono, Bram, Adam. And
Thank
now
you,
we're
Gav.
gonna
Thank
listen
you, Pauli.
to the final concert
Wow.
of the 40 shows.
40 dates and 40 nights.
Yeah, U2UV, Achtung Baby, at the Sphere.
Live on Sirius XM.
Wow.